Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Rod, and welcome back. Welcome back, my friends. This is a contest entry for Ron Haggerty's channel, Vinyl Pasta. Before I do that, I want to show some VCLT I got. This was part of my lottery winnings. It's still coming in. This is from H&S Collectibles. My friend Kat, your friend Kat out there from Scotland, sent me this. Autographed by the lead singer. They're from Scotland, H&S Collectible. If you're not familiar with their channel, man, sub them up. They're fantastic. Like I said, they're in Scotland. She took this out of her personal collection for me. And Kat, that was so very kind of you. Some seriously cool punk rock. She's met the dude, the lead singer. He signed it. And she passed it on to me. She wrote a very, very nice letter that went with it. Just the generosity of her to take it out of her own collection and pass it to me. But she wrote me a great letter, and she was the letter V. And can't thank you enough. Appreciate it, Kat. Now you can't see it because I put the letter in front of it. Okay. Had to do that. Had to do that. Some shout outs before I get started. I'm sure Ron does not care if I throw somebody a shout out. According to Jeff, that's the name of the channel. According to Jeff, this gentleman is amazing. He shares other people's videos. He's really big in the YouTube community, not in the vinyl community, but he does recipes, shows things he's cooked, all kinds of different things. Very supportive of other channels, and that's very positive. He's a very positive and kind human being, and his name is Jeff, and the channel name is According to Jeff. Another one I want to throw out is a new channel. It's new to me anyway. It looks like a father and daughter. I could be wrong. It could be a boss and an employee. But these guys, they're in a record store, and it's called AFK Books and Records. They're in Virginia Beach, and the name of their channel is AFK Books and Records. 45 RPM, you don't need my shout out, man. You've got 1 million subscribers. I just want to thank you for all the recommendations that you show. You've got an amazing channel, bro. Keep it up. That Old Gray Goat. The guy's great, man. The Old Gray Goat. If you're not familiar with him, please check out his channel. Steve Bender, my buddy Steve Bender, he put out a video today, and his albums he was showing were amazing. The dude got a great haul. Steve Bender always puts out a good video. Riverbend Records. And last but not least, Sam St. John. He's a younger cat. He usually films himself as he's walking. Very knowledgeable young cat. Sam St. John, please check out those guys. Let's go forward with the video. I did not write down the questions. I memorized them. I'm taking my vitamins. Working on that memory. Ron Haggerty is back again with a new channel. It's called Vinyl Pasta. Vinyl Pasta is his second channel, but his first channel, he changed the names quite a bit. Anyway, he's back. We're going to get that guy's sub back up to 1,000 where he was. Pick your favorite year of music. Show like 5 albums from that year. An album you wish you would have got that from that year, but you don't have. He wants us to show your favorite comeback album from an artist. Your album you think is the most overrated. And the album you think is the most underrated. I don't know why I have that out. Okay. I got it together. Most overrated album. Y'all could throw eggs at me or whatever. And I've got the album. I like it. But if you were a teenager or I think in my early 20s, maybe 20, 21, when this album came out, may have been 22, people thought it was a second coming of the Lord. And I'm talking about Guns N' Roses. I lived up in D.C., and man, you would have thought Led Zeppelin got back together. You would have thought it was just everywhere. It's a fine album. I don't think it's as great as people make it seem. So to me, it is a very overrated album. Now he wants us to do an underrated album when you feel is underrated. And I'm going with an album I showed quite often, Leaf Hound. These dudes, the Brits, they were a hard rock and blues band with a slight psych edge. I won't really classify them as psych. They sound like a early Deep Purple kind of. Great guitar work, a lot of bass. Leaf Hound. If you're looking for an original issue of this, you're going to spend a couple $100. You can buy the reissue cheap, under 30 bucks. Leaf Hound, Growers of Mushrooms. In my opinion, it is a very underrated album. Now he wants to show our favorite debut album. Before I show my favorite debut album, I want to show a runner-up, if I could. Foreigner. Only album I like by them, the only album I need by them. I thought their first album was fantastic. This came out in 77. That also is the year I'm doing. So I'm tying it into that. But I love this album. I even loved Head Games and Double Vision. Then Jukebox Hero and that shit came out, Foreigner 4. And it was, to me, it was top 40 garbage. And I don't mean to crack or rag on anyone's music. I rarely do that. But this is a solid debut album. But it's not my favorite. My favorite debut album, I think, has got to be Bob Dylan. Here's a reissue of it. I don't like the way they reissued the cover. This is a mono copy from the box set. I've been a fan of this album. I remember my sister playing this when I was like in 2nd and 3rd grade. So I literally grew up with this album in my house. And it's probably my favorite debut album, man. It really, truly is. Bobby D. Bobby D. And here's the reissue. They came out a couple years ago. And it sounds like crap. Don't waste your time on it. Okay. I've shown my favorite debut, overrated, underrated. Now we're going to get into the year 77. He wants us to talk about an album from, or any year we pick. I'm picking 77. Before I do that, I'm going to show my comeback album of the year. Or not of the year, but my favorite comeback album would be Steve Earle. I Feel Alright. This is technically the first one he did right out of prison, but he used a lot of stuff he had already recorded. This was brand new songs, a fresh, right out of the joint Steve Earle. He came back with such a splash. This blew up on the Americana charts. He was voted the #1 Americana artist that year by Gavin Magazine. He's been nominated like 4 times for Folk Artist of the Year. So forget that other stuff, the Copperhead Road. I mean, that's good. But this music more defines who he became. I think that's the greatest comeback album ever. For a cat to go to prison for possession of a handgun and crack cocaine, strung out on drugs, every drug you could think of, does his time and gets out and restarts his career with an album like this. So I got everything but my favorite albums from the year that I picked. And the year I picked was 77. This is an honorable mention. It's not one of my favorite albums from that year, but it is a great album. It's a good album. And the reason I'm showing it is because I had the pleasure of meeting Eddie Money twice, interviewing him, and he was such a gentleman and such a kind person. Rest in peace, Eddie Money. We lost him a couple years ago. These are definitely my favorites. Right here, Randy Newman, Little Criminals. Fantastic, fantastic album. Love me some Randy Newman. In fact, I did a video earlier today where I had a big box of music a friend gave me. and there was a Randy Newman in it, and I had already taken it out to clean it. But this isn't it. There was another one. But speaking of Randy Newman, definitely one of my favorites from 1977. This is actually in my top 10 favorite album of all time. Pink Floyd Animals. Not only one of my favorite albums from 1977, but my very favorite Pink Floyd album. Fantastic album. Got 2 copies of this. This is the reissue. I've got an early copy that I got from Randy Weaver, and that actually sounds better than the reissue. Gotta have it, guys. From opening track to the last song on the second side. I had this album in one form or another since I was a teenager, either on cassette, CD album, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. It almost sounds like a damn soundtrack. I mean, it's a themed album. It's an album theme. The whole thing it's just cool. It's just a great album. My favorite album by AC/DC, and one of my favorite albums from 1977, Let There Be Rock. This and Highway to Hell, my 2 favorite AC/DC. I'm not a rocker, really a hard rocker. AC/DC. And this is a band I only got 1 album by, and I've said before they're one of the most overrated bands. Not the whole career. After the plane crash, and they finally decided to retire a couple of years ago, I think they were doing it on justice. Man, they should have quit after this. This is Leonard Skinner's Street Survivors. A solid album. Incredibly great Southern rock album. One of my favorite albums from 77. Unfortunately, the plane crash happened after that. And I think it should have ended with this album. Kind of like Led Zeppelin with Them Through the Outdoor. But this is a fantastic album. And last but not least, Grateful Dead, Terrapin Station. Fantastic album, man. Love this album. Definitely one of my favorites from 1977. I got 3 copies. I got an original issue. I've got a radio promo. I love this radio promo. The guy, John Ciccotti, at the time, who was the music director at the station where I got this, he even put the fade out times on there. This is before my time in radio, but it was still at the station when I got there, and it kind of left with me. And I also have a 3rd copy of it. And this is the copy that came with the box set. So Terrapin Station, winding down. My favorite albums from 77 is the year I chose. And he said, pick an album from that year that you don't have, you wish you had. And that would be Bob Marley, Exodus. So this was like rambling as hell. I know it. But man, show you the most overrated, in your opinion, the underrated, your favorite comeback album, and albums from your favorite year in music. I picked 77. I was 11 years old. I just picked it at random. Ron Haggerty, peace to you, brother. You got a great channel. All your channels have been great. He's a very positive man. He's been very kind to me. We've gifted each other stuff over the years. So check out his new channel, Vinyl Pasta.